Okay, first up is Carol Buchanan. Carol there, page 33 on both the electronic and the hard copies.
I'm here.
Okay.
Do I turn my camera on?
Yes, turn your camera on, please, Carol. Oh, here's Sandra now. I'll turn mine off, leave it to Sandra.
Oh, thank you, Murray. Sorry for that. Carol, welcome. And I understand that we may have some interpreting at different parts of your submission.
Yes, te tīmatanga o taku kōrero, yes.
Thank you. So, Frank, is Frank on standby? So we have
Yes.
Frank will interpret for us as we go along. So is everybody happy with that? Comfortable with that, Carol?
Aye. Yes.
Frank, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, not a problem.
Okay, rightio. So, so Carol, welcome, and the screen is yours.
Okay, ko tuhia taku kōrero, so I've said, he mihi tēnei ki a koutou, ngā me mō te kauni he rai hui pēnei mai tēnei rā. He mihi nui tēnei ki a Frank, mō tana whakapake a taku kōrero. Kia mōhio mai koutou ko waiau. Ko hikurangi te maunga, ko rangitai ki te awa. Ko tamaki hikurangi te whare. Ko te hina te tangata, ko waiohau te marae. Ko Ngāti haka rā ko Patehuhu ngā hapu whāngai, ko tūhoi te iwi whāngai. Ko Anne rā ko Phil Costello o Kumata, ko Carol Buchanan tōku ingoa. E toru aku take, hei I tēnei rā. Tuatahi te āhua o a koutou mahi. Me tika ngā mahi, me āta whiriwhiri ngā whakatau mō te iwi, mō ngā tāngata e noho I tēnei rohi. Tuara, te hikinga o ngā reti kia te kaupai heniti. Tuatoru, te wai. Tuatahi. Mēnā ka oti pai koutou I tā koutou mahi, ka mōhio koutou e hia ngā moni kei te pūkoro o te kainihira. Nō reira, ka mōhio koutou he aha ka tae e koutou te whakaoti pai me te kore taka atu ki te raru. Nā, ka tae e koutou te ki, ai, e tae ana tēnei mahi, kāre rāna e tae. Ko te aro atu ki te whakatau ko ehea ngā mea mata, ko ehea ngā mea me waiho mo tētahi atu wā, tērā. Ki te kore e tae e koutou tēnei mahi, tēnā, tūkuna tō tūranga ki tētahi atu ka tae ia. Tuara, I o koutou taunga ki nei tūranga mahi. Ka mōhio koutou katoa, whehe te nui, kāre rānei o te pūkoro moni o te kainihira. Nā, I nā mōhio koutou ki nei nama, he ao koutou tuku moni atu ki e tai atu mahi kore whai tikanga I te tāme. Aha ko he pai te āhua, he kore whai take, he kore whai tikanga, hei whakaoti au o mahi. Nā koutou te whakatau ki a whakaoti au o mahi, nā reira mā koutou e utu. Kau ki mai ki ngā tāngata e utu reti ana, aha ko no mātai te he mā koutou e utu. E hara ia mātai te he. Te rāpea ko te mea pai, hei whakaoti I tēnei tohi. Ko te āta titiro ki ngā mahi ngā tāngata o te kainihira I tētahi atu, I te minita rānei. Tūtori, te wai. Ki te kore tēnei take, I puta pēnei mai tēnei tau. Ka kore pēr taku tuku atu e taku tāpai tanga ātihi ki a koitai. Ka noho puku noa pēr hau pērā I e rā tāngata e mārama ana ki te take me hiki ngā rēti, e amu noa nei te kāinga. Engari, puta mai tēnei take I tēnei tau, I tuku atu taku tāpai tanga ki a koitai. I te tainga mai o māku takitāne ki tēnei tāne noho ai. Ko te nui kāre rānei o te ua. Ka nui te wai mā mātau e noho ana I konei. Engari kia tae mai e rā tāngata e hararei ana I konei. I etahi wā, he momo rāhui whakatakotoria e te kaunihira. Nā, me he me mōhio koutou, koina te nui o te wai I tērā wā. He aha koutou whakaai ki ngā whakatūnga whare hau, maharawa, ka pau I a rātai taua puna wai. Ka rei nui te wai mā rātai e noho me te hararei kē ana I konei. Mēnā ka whakatū whare hau, me mātua rapu puna wai hau hoki mā rātai. I mua I te whakatū ngā whare. Kaua e ki mai I ngā wā hararei, I ngā tau maroke rānei, he iti rawa te wai mā koutou katoa inoa nei. Ko nā mātou koutou e tono mai. Me hoko kuro wai, koutou katoa inoa nei. Ko tō mahi he whakarite, he whakatau tika, kia ora ai te rohe katoa. Me āta te tiro ki ngā mea katoa I mua I a koutou, ka whakarite, kia noho pai, kia noho ora ai, ngā tāngata katoa I roto I te rohe. Ka haere ai ki te ro Pāke aina nei nā te mea nāku e tai kōrero I rongo, I tētai o koutou hui, ka I te pirangi au ki te whakautu ki e rā kōrero.
Kia ora, Carol.
Yes.
I'll just translate that last part and then we'll let you get into that if that's all right.
Ai.
Kai ka pai. Kia ora. Kia ora koutou. So just the last part of Carol's third section there was that just trying to read my notes. If I could remain silent like the rest of the people that know that the rates are going to rise and mumble and grumble at home. But the thought arose that I should make this submission to you guys in the arrival of myself and my husband living here in Whitianga. Although that the rain, the water and the rain was quite large in volume, and there was plenty of water for those living in town and others that would come for holidays. Sometimes restrictions would be put in place by the council. That was evident. Therefore, if the knowledge is with the council that the water, where the water supply volume is at that time, why is it that consent is given to establish new homes and quite a few new homes when they will be exhausting that same supply of water that is already requiring restrictions? So there's not enough water. If there's perhaps not enough water to be supplying for them here, why do we continue to give consent for new homes to be erected without providing provisions for a guaranteed water supply for the new homes. If the water supply is small as it is now, and people have been invited to provide homes, then solutions should be looked at as to how to provide for that water at those times that consent is given. The job of the council is to prepare and make decisions around this to ensure that everybody within the region and the community and the district are in a safe environment when it comes to water, and also that you are to look at all the aspects in front of you and make those preparations and decisions so that all can safely call the community their home and be comfortable knowing that there's a water supply for all those in the district. Sorry about the delay there, guys.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you for the initial typing in the chat line, which is very much appreciated. Thank you.
I try to keep up. Just the last part was that Carol said she's now going to speak in English to ensure that some of the subject matter is definitely covered and understood. And I'll allow Carol to get back to that. She will need,
Carol, if you could summarise, please, that would be good. Thank you.
I've got a short bit in English. Hei whakautu to answer to some things that I have heard from other meetings you have had. And one of them is Mr. Fox. Even though people you speak to might understand the need for a rates hike, that doesn't mean that they think it's okay or that it could have been avoided if we'd had competent management. And neither does it mean that you discuss the issue with a wide range of constituents. And while the rates rise might be just a cup of coffee a week to some constituents, other constituents might not buy that cup of coffee every week. So I think it might pay for our councillors to widen the range of constituents with whom they speak, so as to get a good representation of what people actually think. As it is, the council would not be in the SHAT had all its members carried out their duties responsibly, and therefore all members. Therefore, if the members are not all able to carry out their duties in a responsible manner for the benefit of all the constituents, then perhaps it's time council was looked at by a high authority to check out what actually needs to be done rather than what's just nice to do. And while some councillors might think it's time to play catch up with our rates here in Whitianga, just a quick look around at what people pay in rates in other areas will show you that our rates are at the upper end of what ratepayers pay in the country. So we don't need to play catch up. We need to be reasonable, particularly in the economic climate that we have now. Council needs to think before they spend and prioritise. If you think about water this way, you know, if you go organising some event, it's just a bit smaller than a town to organise. You work out how many people is going to be there, and you then organise food and drink in adequate amounts for the number of people who's going to be there.
Carol, could you please bring your submission to a conclusion so that we can ask?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if that's what you do to organise an event, you don't then say, oops, I'm sorry, drink didn't arrive in sufficient amounts, so now it's a BYO. That's not what you do. So before allowing more subdivisions in town, if you were managing the town infrastructure responsibly, adequate sources of water should have been found and supplied to those subdivisions before anything was agreed to. More people, properties, subdivisions necessitate more water. What we have, so basically you've got everything that I'm saying. I'm saying you need to do your job.
Thank you.
And
Okay. Kia ora. Thank you, Carol. So now.
Okay, koina anake. Ina ene, kamutu, kia ora koutou.
Kia ora. I'll now ask the councillors if they have any questions of you. So, councillors, do you have any questions of Carol, please? There being none, I just thank you very much indeed for your contribution and for sharing this with us online. Thank you, Carol.
Right, hei kona.
Kia ora. We'll now move on to the next submitter, Rika Gary Percival. Page 41 of the hard copy, page 421 of the hard copy, page 433 of the online copy. And Rika, you with us? Rika, are you with us? Oh, good.
Morena, good morning. Worship,
Good
good morning,
morning.
councillors.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to hear the submission from the Mercury Bay Community Board. I believe Alan is also on the line and he might jump in and help me out here, and particularly if you ask me any really curly questions. So I just want to run through our submission and perhaps talk to each of these points here. The first one being the footpath from Grays Beach to the Kuatunu Quarry, which is down by the boat ramp. We had in our draft annual plan 20,000. We would like to see that increased to 50,000. The reason being there has been some major erosion in this area since we put together that draft plan. And this money would be used for investigation, design, consenting, and things like that. The LTB does include a figure of 336,000 for this project. So that was our first one. The next is the Hahei Beach car park, and we have some monies that you'll see in there. But what we are looking for at this process, at this moment, is to change the scope of the work a little bit. One of the sort of fish hooks we have there is that we still need to transfer the management and control from DOC over to TCDC. So we're just looking for 50,000, not the full amount that is there. To complete the project, we need to get the planning, consultation and consenting done, but a big part of that is also getting the land transferred over to us, and then hopefully undertake the works in the next financial year. What the board would support is the removal of the tourist boat facility that was provided for in the LTP. There's two reasons for that. Some work has been done on the feasibility of a full sort of redevelopment of the Esplanade area, and what we were talking about with this tourist facility project. After some discussions with our tour boat operators, it's been sort of indicated that this proposed facility would not meet their needs. When looking at the submission that we made around the Whitianga multi-sports park, the board supports the retention of the $267,000 that's in there for the improvement work. Again, likewise, when we look at the coastal erosion for Flaxmill Bay, the board supports the retention of the $194,000 to get the work done there for the erosion project at Flaxmore Bay. We support $80,000 there for the Wharikaro water and sewage investigation. We see this as being a priority for the Three Waters investigations budget. The board, when looking at the road maintenance extensive project, it's a district-wide project, and given the current climate that we're in, the Mercury Bay Community Board supports removing this work until perhaps the next LTP process. Whitianga Wharf ambassadors, we would like to see some greater control. We know that this is needed around our very busy Whitianga Wharf. We would see ambassadors as being a help with the number of incidents. We had one over the summer and some significant near misses in this busy wharf area. So we feel wharf ambassadors would be helpful in us meeting our health and the safety obligations in this area as well. With regards to community grants, I'd just like to explain this to you. Over the last 2 financial years, Mercury Bay Community Board has not allocated its full funds for the grants. So we would like to see the grants reduced from $40,000 down to $20,000 for the community boards per year. What we would also like to do is we have issued an annual grant of $6,000 to the the Day Camp Trust, and we would like to see this removed from our grants budget and moved into our community services contract budget. We see this as a reduction in OPEX of $14,000. The Culture and Heritage grant, we would like to remove this district grant. The reasons being, we've found that the criteria behind this grant hasn't been very clear, and in Mercury Bay we've used it intermittently, but never the full amount. So we're suggesting that perhaps savings this district budget could be removed. The Whitianga water supply, I'm sure you're all councillors very aware of the issues that we had in Whitianga for supply over this recent peak season and not being able to cope. We're very happy with the rain that we've had here over the last couple of days. We think a thorough and full investigation is needed for the water supply into the future, a sustainable supply for Whitianga, and we've got 150,000 against that. With regards to the UAGC, the board supports retaining the UAGC at 20% of the total rates. And I've got a couple of statements here. Firstly, with the future charges for council assets and services, we'd like to see, as part of the LTP process, a thorough review of fees and charges for wharves, boat ramps, concessions, and car parking. In Mercury Bay, we believe some of our council assets are used by commercial operators and are undercharged. And, we'd like to ensure that our ratepayers are not in a position where they're subsidising commercial ventures. Future charges of water supply. We'd like to see across the whole district the charging of water be on a consistent basis, and to include funds for an investigation of this, of moving water to water metering. And our last point there, economic, the downturn stimulus. Mercury Bay Community Board supports the council to respond to the current situation following COVID-19 and consider its role in the future stimulus of our economy.
Thank you very much indeed. So I'm not sure whether you're up or down in terms of the pluses and minuses, the additional costs and the removal of some costs, and I would suspect you're probably up.
You like how I just skimmed through it there, so you'll have to go through and catch it all up.
Right, well, I'll just throw it open to questions. Thank you very much, Rika. Are there any questions of Rika?
Yeah, actually, I've got one. Oh, you go. Terry first.
Yeah, Rika, Terry Walker. Thank you for your submission. Regarding the economic downturn stimulus, you've got some comments there. Have you got a package money figure out for this, or you just put it up there for a discussion?
No, we sort of thought more so for the council to just, I mean, obviously COVID wasn't really a thing when we were putting together the annual plan, but yeah, so no figure, just to make sure that the council talk about it, and I see that as happening. I see the releases coming through, you know, that things are starting to happen, but I think it's just really important for our economy.
Thank you. And the other question, quick one, is that in light of COVID-19, any of these projects here, would you reconsider to defer and put them off to a later date, or is this your final package?
Yeah, I think this would be our final package. We went through pretty thoroughly, and yeah, I can't see that we would change. I don't know. We've got both the councillors here and Alan, if they've got anything to add.
This is a community board submission, Rika, so they can only ask questions at this stage.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Rika.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks.
Robin.
Oh, no, I was just curious about the Hahei Beach car park, because we've heard a couple of submissions that have said that's a nice to have, not a want. And so it was sort of almost following on from Terry's question about the, you know, is this, sure, a couple of weeks ago, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, was that an absolute want, and is that changed under the you know, under the idea that we won't be getting international tourists now? So the easy question for you, Rika, is the Hahei car park still a need to have for your community?
I think that it is still a need to have. I think that we may not be having international tourists in the immediate future, but when they come in droves, and there really needs to be something done to support that community out there in terms of them having spaces for their visitors to be, and, you know, not getting in the way of their living and impacting their lifestyles.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Robin.
It's Alan Tiplady here, Your Worship. Can I just quickly add to that? So, just to be clear, that the annual plan contains $227,000 in total for that project. The community board submission is saying let's reduce that down to 50, so we can do the planning and the design and the consultation, etc. in the 2021 financial year, and then once that's done, make a final decision on whether we proceed with that project.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions of Rika? There be none. Thank you.
I've got a comment in answer to your question, Sandra. The Mercury-based submission is showing savings of over 2 million.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Right. We'll move on to the next submitter. Thank you very much, Rika. We're moving on to the next submitter, and that's I just welcome.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome Peter Pritchard. His submission is on page 429 of the hard copy and 441 of the online copy. Welcome, Peter.
Good morning, Your Worship and fellow councillors. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, absolutely, and we can see you.
Oh, great.
You're looking like you're wearing pink. Actually, you look completely pink.
It's probably this desktop lamp I got shining on me here. I'm in quite a dark office.
Lovely lighting.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity for the Coromandel Colville Community Board to present their submission today. You've got it in hard copy in front of you, but I'd just like to touch on the points one by one, if I may. The first one being the Jacks Point boat ramp. This is a current facility. It's already there. However, it suffers from a very flawed design. But in the right conditions, it's very popular. In fact, I counted 42 trailers there one morning a week before Christmas. However, this project is a large and actually underfunded project, and it can't possibly be undertaken in the current circumstances because council don't own the reserve. So we need to settle that before we can implement this project fully. And we also need to implement a co-governance plan with Ngāti Patakiriki iwi before we can really progress this project. There are council assets on the site, and overall the actual replacement cost of that ramp to something that is more functional is actually in the vicinity of $735,000, which we don't have a budget for. But in the current plan, there is $584,000 over 3 years to implement this project. The community board feel that in the current circumstances, we would like to change the draft annual plan figure of $471,000 down to $175,000. And defer the balance and add that to the 21-22 year, which would bring this year to 175 and next year to 352. And that gives us time to get some land settlement finality, if you like, and it also gives us the time to implement a co-governance plan. But because the ramp is a current and functioning facility, we do need to make sure it's safe for the community. And to that end, it's also that end of town, it's like the poor cousin. You know, the top of town is really nice, the centre of town is beautiful now, but that end of town is actually quite neglected. So what the community board and Alan would like to propose is that we change the annual plan figure this year to 175,000. Out of that 175, 75 is to make the facility safe. It has some walls that are crumbling on the side of it. It constantly gets coated in mud, so it needs to be graded from time to time to keep it usable. So 75,000 to make it safe and serviceable, but we'd also like to allocate 100,000 towards a master plan, if you like, for that district. The master plan for that area and its linkage to the rest of the town. Well, we need to develop a proper concept plan for that whole area, the hard stand, the creek, the old netball courts, the dump station facility, the toilet block, and really try and revitalise that whole foreshore area. So that's the recommendation from the community board, is to allocate 100,000 towards that project. The next item on our submission is for the Pottery Lane extension. Once again, this is currently in the LTP, and in the 1920 year, that's this current year, we're in the design phase for it. The overall project costings may change based on that design and scoping and land acquisitions and that kind of thing. The current annual plan allows for 325,000 in the 2021 year to progress the Pottery Lane extension project. The community board do support continuing with that project. I know times are tough, but I think we always need to have something going on. So we would support continuing with the Pottery Lane extension project, but for the 2021 year, sliver, if you like, 100,000 off the 325 that's currently in the plan. So we'll reduce the Pottery Lane budget to 225, and that other 100 could be used to repurpose into what is becoming, fast becoming actually, a more favourable project within the Coromandel town, and this would run alongside the Pottery Lane extension, and that is to investigate the bypass from the top of town out to Wangapara Road. Benefits of the bypass obviously are that we would reduce a lot of stock and heavy transport trucks from transiting right through the centre of our beautiful historic town. The trucks are getting bigger and bigger, and the roads are no wider than they were all those years ago. As this project has been in the district plan for 20 odd years. So we would like to put 100,000 into investigating all the possible options around building this bypass. We believe that it's vital for the long-term future of the town. So that's our recommendation there. The next option is in the submission is the wharf renewal. Our wharf is decrepit and getting more and more so. We're spending money fixing it up a piecemeal at the moment. So there has been in the LTP almost 2.6 million towards renewal of that facility, and the community board support retaining the sum currently budgeted with the aim of completing a wharf renewal in 2023-24 years. The next option for us is the Premier Netball courts. This transiting the netball facilities from the bottom of town up into the school has been a project that's been undertaken with the cooperation of the Education Department. We have got some netball courts up and running again, and it's becoming quite popular. It's always been popular in Coromandel. But this Premier Court is the star attraction, if you like, and the ambition is to have this as the best netball facility in the district. We have been progressing this, as I say, with the cooperation of the Education Department. They have already moved buildings that were in the site that's been allocated for this Premier Court. They've moved playgrounds already to allow for the configuration of the court within the Education Department land. And this project has been quite some time in the making, and getting the cooperation of the Education Department hasn't always been easy. So I think that while they're in a good frame of mind, the community board would suggest retaining this item. The next item in our submission is Coromandel Hall charges. You may recall that the Coromandel Settlers Hall at the top has received a good facelift, rejuvenated, big commercial kitchens, lovely floors and paintings. It's a star attraction actually in the town. It's actually beautiful site. And part of staff thinking is that we could leverage that as a wedding venue or a venue for any reason actually, and we could differentiate. And actually we've been talking to the comms team within council, and we believe that we can market that hall out of the region and actually attract people to Coromandel town to use that facility to host their event, whatever it may be. And to that end, we think that there's an opportunity to differentiate, if you like, the hall charges and the rentals for the use of the facility. And in our submission, we're proposing $250 to use the hall for the locals, but have a $500 figure for out-of-towners. And with that same differentiation in mind, we believe that the bond in the current annual plan is, I think, to increase to $500 for everybody. We think $500 is a bit too much for our locals, and so we would like to use that differentiation again to make that $500 for out-of-towners, but $250 for locals. And just as a matter of interest, Bubbles tells me that she has never ever retained a bond from any of the hall users after an event. So people do look after the facility. So I think that you may be thinking that the $250 is too low for a bond figure, but actually for the locals, it's about right. And we won't be retaining it anyway, based on past performance. So that's our thinking behind that item. Next one being the ambulance charges. Over the last 3 years, Coromandel Coalville Community Board has always contributed towards the running of the ambulance station here. It's a legacy from the old hospital board days when they dismantled the hospital here. Over the last 3 years, we have negotiated with St John's Ambulance not to continue with that grant. Our board rather, were the only one in the whole of New Zealand, apparently, that were paying it. So over the last 3 years, we've weaned them off that. So there's an $8,000 saving for the annual budget. Next item being the dump station. There is a dump station in town. It's at the Patakirikiri Reserve. It's old, it's decrepit, and it's not very nice, putting it bluntly. However, it is there, and it's only saving grace is that it's big enough to accommodate large vehicles, and some of these motorhomes are large. We have been planning for a new purpose-built dump station for the last 4 years. It was actually an item in the 17-18 annual plan. However, we have not been able to nail down a location for this, and over the last 3 years, that item has dropped off our annual plan budgeting. So this item is here just to put it back in and to remind everybody that the Motor Caravan Association are putting in $23,000 towards building this facility. The thinking at the moment is that we're about to undertake a water treatment facility upgrade on Wangapā Road, and that we would build this dump station in conjunction with that project. So the community board is asking that that $37,000 be put back in. The next item being the Coromandel Town water supply, and you've heard Rika touch on this earlier through Whirianga, so I guess it's a common theme at the moment. I mentioned earlier we are having a Coromandel water treatment project underway, but that's about the quality of the water, not about the quantity of the water. Our community board is recommending $150,000 be allocated towards providing a additional source of water for Coromandel Town. We are currently under water restrictions. We have been since December. It's now May, and we're still on our alternate days. We've had some rain, but not enough. We've probably got subdivision projects to the order of a couple of hundred houses, additional houses going into town over the next wee while. That will probably add to the problem. We think that we need to find another supply, and the 150k is actually a figure that's been given to us from Mo, so it's reasonably accurate. And we're only going to have more problems, and more people will experience more problems in the future if we don't find additional capacity. Part of that investigation could be wine raging, actually. It could be everything. I mean, we've heard over summer Scott Simpson even saying that, hey, you know, why don't we keep building these water tanks on new builds? Why don't we utilise the water that's coming off the roof? Maybe this project could even influence the district plan into getting that into some kind of building standard. Who knows? But it can only help alleviate the pressure that we're all feeling. The next item in our submission is the road maintenance extent project. Keeping it brief, really, the community board raises no objection to deferring these projects by 1 year, which will take that out into the new LTP, I understand. Next item being the bike park. First thing I'll point out to Your Worship and Councillors is the figure there is 217,000. Just a reminder that it's not that figure for council. It's a 50-50 figure shared with the Spirit of Coromandel Trust. So we're actually looking at half that amount. And if council is looking for a way of saving money in the annual plan, then the community board recommend that this is not the project to cut. This has been a long time in the works. It's a very important that the council add to this, because it influences outside funding, and the whole thing could fall on its face if we were to change our stance on it. So the Coromandel Community Board supports retaining funding at the current level in the next annual plan for that project. Next item being the UAGC, the Community Board supports retaining that at the current level. Next item being future charges, council assets and services. We would recommend, the community board would recommend that this was mooted. This review was mooted after the last LTP, and from recollection, I don't think it was ever implemented. Our community board does have a high proportion of marine-related fees and activities on the water through the commercial industry guys, and we would definitely support a review of the charges. The next item being future charges water supply. We would support equality, really. We have meters on our council provided water, and I think that for the interest of equality, that should be reflected right across the district. And our last item is the economic downturn stimulus. Events have really overtaken this item in the submission. This was written some time ago, and it's been noted that the council are taking a very proactive stance in this area. It's important that we seriously consider council's role in returning the district to normal as soon as possible. We don't have a figure on the amount of help, but we really think that the frame of our state of mind needs to be supportive and getting the district up and running as fast as possible. And on COVID-19 related notes, I would like to acknowledge the great job that Rob and the leadership team have done, and in fact all council staff have conducted themselves very well in extreme circumstances, all remotely as we're doing now, and I don't think the level of service that council have provided has suffered greatly at all. So I think a big thumbs up and well done to everybody concerned for working so well in such unusual and stressful conditions. And that concludes my submission.
Well done, Peter. Well,
Happy to take questions should
so
there be.
Woody Ingham made $200 million savings on theirs. What was the total amount for yours?
I don't know whether I've done that actually. I might be a bit vague on that one on purpose.
It's Ellen.
Can I ask?
It's Ellen here.
Can I ask?
Alan might have an
Can I
idea.
Ask the question?
Hold on. Right. Okay. So first of all, who's first in line for a question? Sally.
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 Yeah.
If you were successful in progressing the road to divert that heavy traffic, do you need Pottery Lane as well?
I think the two projects are quite unrelated. One is about connectivity within the town, and if we had done the town upgrade all over again, and perhaps in 20 years' time, it'd be a lot easier next time if you had a bypass from the bottom of town to the top of the town. You wouldn't have to close the road at all. You wouldn't have to keep the main road open. It's about connectivity. It's about getting delivery vehicles off the main road. At the moment, they're stopping and blocking traffic while they're unloading with forklifts and whatever, right in the middle of town. I think it gives pedestrian egress a little bit easier too around the back of the shops. Couriers will be able to deliver around the back of the shops. It takes pressure off the roundabout. Whereas the bypass is about heavy traffic and getting those huge vehicles, truck trailers, 40-ton vehicles off the main street. So the two projects are quite different, Sally, and I understand where you're going with it. But I do think that they're quite diverse projects and they can be run in parallel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sandra, you had a question about the overall effect of our budget. I think Alan might have some input into that for you.
Okay. Well, we'll just wait for the councillors to ask their questions. So the next questioner was who? Tony
Me.
Fox or Murray? Terry.
Terry. Yeah.
Terry?
Yeah, Peter, thank you very much for your submission, very detailed. Just a question though, projects in this annual plan will not be completed and rolled over into next year's annual plan. In your submission, you have a lot of projects that need money for investigations. Could these be deferred in light of COVID-19?
You're only deferring the problem. And my frame of mind is that you address problems head on. You don't push them out and hope they go away.
Okay, next question. Who's in line for a question? Okay, Alan, did you want to say something here?
All I was going to say, the figure is if you leave the roading extent saving out of the calculation, the submission reduces the budget by $117,000.
Thank you. Peter, a question. Your investigation for additional water supply, would you sacrifice the other projects that your board is keen to keep for expanding your additional water supply?
Well, I think they're all pretty important, but we have done without water for some time, and another year probably wouldn't hurt. So I'd prefer to keep the other projects on track and delay the water one. if push came to shove. But I think they're all important, Sandra. I think the problem's not going to go away. Climate, no matter how far you bury your head in the sand, it's pretty clear that we're actually getting more and more water problems as our population rises. It calls on demand.
It's not about not wanting to do these things.
Yeah.
It's about being able to afford to do these things. So
Yeah.
if you can't afford to do everything, you have to actually start prioritising the nice to haves against the must haves. So I would have thought a water supply was a must have, and so would you sacrifice the nice to have, which is your bike park, for the water supply?
I'd rather keep momentum on the projects that are currently underway, so I would actually defer the water investigation myself, because life will go on. We will cope, and if we can only water our lawn every 3 days or use the hose every couple of days, to me that's a nice to have that we could do without for a little bit longer. My board may not share that opinion, but that's my opinion.
Thank you, appreciate it. Are there any other questions of Peter? There be none. Peter, thank you so much. I was very impressed with the layout of both the submissions from Mercury Bay and Coromandel community boards. They were excellent. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, and thank you to Alan for helping us put it together.
Yeah, very good. Right, now I'll invite Anna Van Limt to join us on the hard copy. It's page 289. On the online copy, it's page 301. Anna, welcome to the meeting. I'm presuming you're there.
Yes, I am.
Great. We can't hear you very well. Can you increase your volume at all?
I think this is it on volume.
Peter, do you want to turn off your video? Anna, you're there. Thank you, Peter. So have you got full volume, Anna?
I think I do, yeah.
Oh, that's a bit better. Anybody else having trouble hearing Anna? Okay, Anna, the forum is yours.
Thank you, first of all, for having me. Mayor Sandra and councillors, and I represent the Paranui Community Office, the Ratepayers Association. And I have to say it's good to see that there's quite a few other submissions from different ratepayers associations around the peninsula. And so first of all, I have to make a comment about the special council meeting where a councillor made a comment about the pitiful amount of submissions between 30,000 ratepayers, where we represent over 700 members. So, it came across as a bit condescending, to be honest, that was mentioned. But, we'll take that as it is. There's a few questions or comments we have. I've been listening to a lot of the submissions, and most have been stated in detail already about the focus on having council run as a business a lot more, so that the budget should be stuck to a lot more focus on accountability. So if projects go over budget, why is it? What can we do for lessons learned on that? And can we look for cost-effective solutions if we need to save money? And another point was that we really believe that council should try and use more local businesses and local contractors, so we can keep employment within the Coromandel. And I'm sorry, I'm a bit new to this. There also should be a better contract management to ensure that we can get competitive pricing, so we can get the best cost-effective projects and have a good level of service as well. And then a big concern of ours is that the use of consultants, which is pretty costly, we believe, and maybe not always necessary, especially on minor projects. A question we put in was that we'd like to see more details on district projects, because now it just comes across as one big sum of money, a lump sum over the entire district, but we would like to see a more specified list of those so we can see which money is allocated for which area. Then the projects for the current year, for the annual plan 1920, that haven't been completed yet, we would like to know if they will still go ahead after the COVID-19 lockdown has lifted, and if so, when? And if that also means that the other projects would automatically be moved forward or delayed. We have put in a list of projects that we believe can be delayed, but we would still like to see them in the long-term plan as well, so they won't just be cancelled, but maybe moved forward for 6 months or a year or whatever possible. We were also surprised about the stormwater renewals budget from the long-term plan to the annual plan for the district went from 1.7 million to 1.2 million, but it's not really clear why there's the $500,000 less is going to be invested in there, and especially because for us, we're still struggling with the Holland closed stormwater issue, which hasn't been resolved yet, even though it was on the list of priorities for 2019-2020. So we'd like to have more clarity in that as well. Sorry about that. So basically our statement is that we would do like to stick to the core business, the infrastructure, or the essential services, but not necessarily cancel all the wanna-haves. Just depending on what the budget comes up to, because in the end it's still ratepayers and they've paid for a lot of it, so you can't just take it all away because budget's been blown. Then a little comment on the tip fees. We would believe they are too high, and it will probably result in a lot more roadside dumping, which we already have seen recently, which is not really a solution. So maybe there's other solutions for that, how we can make it work. So that's it for me, really, because I think a lot of the issues have already been discussed in detail or explained by other submitters. So if there's any questions?
Just unmuting. Thank you, Anna. No, that was excellent. I see you had quite a good list, so you've been quite proactive. So very well done. I'll just ask the councillors. Do the councillors have any questions? They don't. Look, I really appreciate the work that you and your representative, your members have actually undertaken in making some decisions around the list, and we appreciate they still want some of the nice to have. So we've got some hard decisions to make ahead of us. So thank you so much for participating online. It's been great. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anna. Take care. So I now invite Maggie Johnson, page 338 of the hard copy, page 350 of the online copy. Maggie, you're welcome to join us.
Hello, am I there?
Hello. Yes, you're there, Maggie. We can hear you.
Hi, this is nerve-wracking.
That's all right. That's fine. We can see you as well. So welcome.
Yeah. Welcome to you. Thank you. I'm Maggie and I'm a permanent resident of Whitianga since 2001. I am going to read. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As some of you know, and from my written submission, past legislative and rating decisions have severely impacted on me due to an increased unit payment, separately used part, and amounting to an 11% rise in my rates now, with fears of what would happen if you remove the rates remission program, as was tried in 2018. My main concern is with the overall system of how rates are allocated. I do find it hard to articulate all of these interrelated issues around around your policies and my concerns. And even after trying to summarize, I have too many points to fit into 5 minutes. So I've done a total turn, and I'm going to address it generally. I appreciate that it must be equally difficult for you to have to sit and listen to all our views, especially when they can seem critical and negative. As I said today, and in the light of the current difficult times, I'm choosing to focus on a constructive commentary I've drawn from seeking a higher perspective or a bigger perspective. I do, however, support and reiterate as valid all of the genuine ratepayer concerns that were outlined or are outlined in front of you in the consultation document. In reading through that, I was gratified to see that business owners, farmers, some from development and planning areas, have all joined the ordinary ratepayer groups and individuals like myself in calling for restraint and a committed radical review by you of your fiscal policies and management. This was necessary before COVID-19 and is now, of course, absolutely imperative. In the COVID bubble of reality, it seems to me that our best qualities and good old Kiwi resilience, ingenuity, and egalitarianism are coming to the fore, as if it's sort of as if this crisis has brought us back to ourselves, pardon the Christian reference, but like the prodigal son, and also to a situation where the golden rule of doing unto others as we would do to ourselves is governing. On a more secular note, I would cite Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a US television program, and Tom Hanks is now playing the part in a new film. The principle in action here is watching out, caring for our neighbors, whatever their color, creed, politics, income, occupation, or gender. And in this show, he treats his kid audience like intelligent people who deserve programming that is just as good as that given to the adults. He doesn't polarize, divide, or contend, but he unites all in his community. Huge challenges facing us now in this recovery from COVID-19, but that adversity has drawn us together as one district, one country, and I think, of course, one planet, being a bit of a greenie. We all need to look deeper at our core values and our systems of organization to decide what's really important and find those new ways to proceed. People's lives and businesses have been badly affected, but all seek the same security, the same kindness, courage, and cooperation from government and from each other. I think most of us are grateful for the way people have come together wanting to help, showing strength, courage, resilience, and devising innovative, practical, common sense solutions like we're in the Informer and at the meetings, people spoke to those. Those are the immediate problems on the ground that can be solved. Commitment to an empathic standpoint and a sound planning is now needed from all our governments, including you, of course, to first identify the key questions or problems, like you just said, Sandra, to that other man before from Coromandel, and then to set about solving them responsibly and efficiently. We will come back from this economically, I know, and trust, but hopefully we'll have a better sense of what business is and can be. Business, I have a thing about business, but that's why I've been studying it. Business doesn't have to be just a commercial activity or trade defined in terms of profit or volume. Wealth, too, is not just financial, but it can be applied to our ecologies and our social infrastructure systems. I remind you here about coastal protection strategies, mangrove management, the state of the Hauraki Gulf, of kauri dieback and dwindling native forest stands, etc., etc. Also, the claims that we have created an over-tourism scenario with unnecessary speculative type planning and unsustainable development sometimes. Despite the often sad truths of these claims, we need to look not so much at what's going or gone wrong, but at the many positives we've gained. The year is 2020, which in optical terms denotes perfect vision. Total attitudinal transformation, I think, is required here now. And TCDC and all of us equally have the same opportunity to rebuild better, which is a reference to a woman on the television the other night, on Paul, whatever his name is, on TV3. A very good program with a woman planner, I've forgotten her name, sorry. But a total attitudinal transformation is required here, and all of us equally have that same opportunity to rebuild better the future of our beautiful Coromandel. Let's do it together, I say, now, in harmony and in cooperation. Thank you for listening. Hello?
Oh, we seem to have lost Mayor.
Hello?
We've just lost Sandra, I think. Have any councillors got any questions for Maggie?
Thank you, Murray. I don't know what's happening on here.
No, I don't know what's happened to Sandra, Maggie. I'll just ask any councillor again if they've got any questions.
Thank you.
Appears not. Thank you, Maggie, for your submission.
Cheers.
As I say, I don't know what's happened to Sandra, but I'll just take over and close it off and get the next submission. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to Ariana Ben Dunbar-Smith. You there? Everyone there?
Sorry,
Yeah,
Murray, I was just on the phone to Sandra. How can I help?
Oh, I was just wondering, Sandra's gone and I just didn't know quite what. Are we moving on to Ben Dunbar-Smith?
Yes, please. That would be great. Thank you. Her
Ben,
computer's
you
just
on
had
the
a bit of a
line?
meltdown.
Yep. Are there, Ben?
Unmuting.
Ben,
Now,
you're me now.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you and see you.
Good. Now I have a document to share, which I will put onto slide view, and you should be able to follow me through the PowerPoint submission.
Yep. We've got it.
Okay. So basically, this is my submission. The COVID crisis is the most serious economic event of our lifetime. It may parallel the Great Depression. If you can see, they're predicting possibly 275,000 unemployed, but it could be worse. That's Treasury predictions. Coromandel's heavily dependent on tourism and hospitality, which are going to be hard hit already in Taurua. Elderly and fixed incomes really struggle to pay this extra 287. My submission is it's not the good time for a 10% rate hike. Fundamentals. Why are we facing this 10% rate rise? How to ensure it doesn't happen again, and what to do moving forward. So I just wanted to run through those points. $12 million blowout in OPEX should never have been allowed to happen. As councillors, you have found yourself foisted on this at the very last minute. It's not like councillors have created the $12 million blowout. The CEO's pre-election report in July 2019 made no mention of a $6 million blowout. Now, my question is, why not? Did the CEO not know what was happening in July? And if he didn't know, then why didn't he know? Because this has happened throughout that past year. If existing councillors had been given warning, you could have dealt with the blowout by cutting OPEX. Instead, the newly councillors and voters like myself were misled when election time came around because there was no forewarning in the pre-election report from the CEO. However, at the inaugural council meeting on the 31st of October, you were forced to swallow a massive blowout in OPEX. And it was tucked away on page 103 of a 104-page report, which was largely about 100 pages of new councillor induction. The budget was only revealed days before the voting papers went out on the 20th of September. On the 19th of September was the first time this showed up in the financial wash-up report from staff. And you can see 2.6 million blowout on solid waste when the solid waste is only 6 million. That's a third of the costs was suddenly escalated. My submission is an OPEX blowout of this magnitude should never have occurred. OPEX can and should be tracked continuously throughout the year. Budgets are then cut to prevent a blowout. Now, if you can see the screen there, there's the project status update report. The previous CEO brought in this tracking system, which provided red, green, and amber, and detailed 3 pages on every single project. You can see down below here, the variance is 150,000. It's gone over. So there's the actual budget. The actual to date is 300,000. So there's 150,000 variance. That was done monthly. The current CEO dismantled that project in 2017-18, and the business improvement staff who were doing it were all made redundant. How do you make sure this doesn't happen again? Well, OPEX is spending on groceries, and in any household, the CEO should know month by month how budgets are tracking against expenditure. OPEX blowouts are what push up the rates. CapEx, you can go through and reduce your CapEx now, but it's largely funded by long-term loans. So reducing CapEx projects doesn't necessarily reduce the rates immediately. Clearly, OPEX was not managed properly, otherwise the 12 million blowout would not have occurred. Who's accountable? Somebody wasn't minding the store properly, so who's to blame? Who can be held accountable? When local government, you've only got one employee, the CEO. The buck must stop with him. Local Government Act sets out the roles and responsibilities of the CEO. His job is essentially to monitor and control expenditure. In other words, to prevent exorbitant rate rises by keeping councillors informed through accurate and timely reporting. So you can take action if required. Has this monitoring role been fulfilled? My submission is no. I'm facing a $287 increase, again, the following year as well. And so I know that councillors themselves were sideswiped by the extent and suddenness of the OPEX blowout. Even the mayor on the Waikato Times in February this year was quoted as saying she was surprised that the overruns were so high. But how do we move forward? Well, firstly, councillors need to deal with these issues. That's up to you how you deal with them. What I'm interested in is moving forward to a positive future for the Coromandel. And as per my written submission, I want to talk about some positive approaches for the coming year. Firstly, how do we build a growth pathway out of this looming global recession? Obviously, we need to review expenditure on a line-by-line basis. It's like, why is council planning to spend 18.5 million to seal roads that are previously paid for by private residents? We need to stick to user pays models and review the old decisions. And a positive pathway. So I would submit, in making decisions, you need to consider, will a project create jobs for Coromandelites? Not business people in Auckland, but Coromandelites. Secondly, it's my submission that export industries are what are going to pull us out of this recession faster. And so aquaculture, forestry, dairy and manufacturing, Toyota and AG Price, these are the industries that will prosper in a tough global world. So we need to prioritise those that are going to create jobs and have a future growth potential that the world will buy off us. We need to actually lobby central government to delay or reduce charges like the water standard upgrades. Yes, we need water supply and quantity, but we have to have the quality that's being imposed upon us. Why are the waste minimisation charges escalating significantly at central government level? And do we need the earthquake strengthening deadlines that are being imposed? Finally, people need hope. And councils, I just want to point out that I know of 2 people who have committed suicide in the last week. One a 27-year-old and one a 50-year-old. They can't see a future for themselves. Council has an important role to play in the recovery. You've got the capacity to support job-ready projects. You certainly are the only vehicle that can attract government funding that will benefit the Coromandel. I believe there will be task force green type projects where people go out and do riparian planting to get them jobs. I lived through on the Coromandel, the GFC, and I saw many of the local builders in my town have to go and work in Australia in the mines because there was no work, because people stopped spending on their holiday homes. One way of doing that is to run Task Force Green, to get people into forestry and planting trees, which could benefit the environment, attract domestic tourism. Conclusion, find out what went wrong with the OPEX blowout, hold those responsible to account. But my main point is, please don't shut up shop. We need a Keynesian solution that solved the 1930s depression. Council has an important role as a funnel for central government money and a coordinator of job growth programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And yeah, sorry for my dropout. Thank you, Murray, for taking over. My computer just completely died. So it said it had overload, so I'm not quite sure what that meant. But look, thank you for those thoughts, Ben, and we're doing our best. But once again, the government call for interest in funding for projects is well oversubscribed, as I'm sure you'll be aware. And we've applied for a range of things across the board. So including these projects around the green ones, the cycle streetscape ones, particularly of interest to Robin. Firstly, I'll just ask the councillors if they've got any questions.
Yes, Sandra. Terry Walker.
Gary.
Yeah, Benjamin, thank you very much for a very good presentation. I think they've taken some valid points out of that we'll take forward. And that traffic light one was one that really worked back in 2018 and should be reconsidered for project management. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, it's Gary. Ben, are you able to forward to us your latest presentation point, setting out the points you've just raised, which is additional to your submissions?
I could send that through Ariana.
That's right.
No, it's very helpful the way you've set that out. Thank you.
Are there any other, are there any questions of Ben?
Oh yeah, I guess I've got one. And because it's been something that's come up a number of times today, so I'll just chip in there. So it's Robin Sinclair. So you talked about supporting job ready projects and the role of the council, and one of the things that has come up is the community grants. Do you see that as a role for the council and the community to have those community grants?
Two things, Robin. I know you're from Thames. So firstly, I believe anything that causes hope is useful. Community grants offer a small amounts of money, but it's like micro loans and they can make a difference. Secondly, I would point out in Thames, there were two projects I didn't mention there that I think have got export potential or growth potential. One is we've got an unused meatworks on the entrance to town, which is fully operational. And we've got a shortage of culling supply at the moment because of the drought. So there's a potential to reactivate that. And certainly I think that we should be looking at promoting a second supermarket in Thames. Strange to me that Whittinger's got two and double the population in Thames only has one. And I think you could attract, and they're job heavy, those projects, if you could attract a new supermarket.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any other questions of Ben? There being none, we really appreciate the submission you've made, Ben. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us online today.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. All the best. Are there anything anyone else wants to add from the councillors? So this is the last submission. Just like to thank everybody for their participation. And Frank, thank you for your interpretation. Look forward to catching up with everybody in real life animated selves. So thank you everybody for all your hard work today and every contribution each of you have made. Thank you. Everybody can sign off now. That's it.
Thank you.
The hearings are over. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Thanks, Sandra.
Ka kite.
Thank you. Cheers.